friends. Pat Kabira here, and I am obviously not in Bali. I am in Madeira, and it does get warm, but it's 5 a.m. because I'm a super early bird, and it's cold. So I did not come here to give you a weather report. Actually, just a sharing and some questions for you around what is your relationship with sadness? So this was prompted by a post that I actually posted recently, and someone had made a comment like, "Oh, you look so incredibly sad." And I found myself feeling really defensive. And I really sat with that, like, all right, what's going on? And, one was this feeling of like, oh man, like, am I allowed to be sad? Am I allowed to be a business owner? Can I provide good service if I'm sad? Am I sad? Is this true? Also, like, am I taking in someone else's interpretation, projection? Am I really absorbing the opinion of someone else? Is this actually true? Does this resonate? Brought up a lot. And it made me think about back, in my teens and 20s when, I was quite disassociated, not in my body, really presented myself as a very happy, charismatic person. I am charismatic at times, but there was a huge disconnect. Like I was very deeply sad and in pain, a lot of unprocessed trauma. I mean, like rapes, physical, sexual, mental, emotional abuse. I mean, there was horrible things that I like was carrying, and I had really developed some skillful masks that I got away with. And there was a deeper pain of can anyone see me here? Oh, and also, like, I work with people who are highly sensitive, and I say to people, like, look, you got to get used to the fact, I'm putting trauma aside, but if you're highly sensitive, you are a moody rainbow. Like the people that, like the spectrum of emotions and feelings that we live with, that if we try to mute or numb out, we're actually doing a disservice to ourselves. I'm an artist at heart. To me, my healing path wasn't medical, and it wasn't even scientific. It was artistic, and I will still stand beside that. And what's fed my art over the years is pain, anger, rage, sadness, loneliness, fear, despair, joy, enthusiasm. And, if you sit with yourself enough, and I'm talking more meditation, and especially if you ever, do a longer meditation retreat, not only do you recognize how crazy you are, like we're all crazy, right? But you can really see like, wow, I'm constantly changing. There's so many different emotions that are running through me, and am I attaching to them? And one of the tenets of my work that I've shown people over the years is how to actually be with your feelings. If we deny, if we numb out, and there's so many ways to deny and numb out, then they end up getting stuck. They end up being these deeper currents that don't actually get to move. They get a little frozen. And that's what I love about art, whether we're talking dance or singing or music or, anything where you're allowing them to have expression. And of course, also just the bare bones, allowing yourself to feel. A fear that my clients have had and that I myself have had is, well, am I worthy or able to hold space for others if I've had so much happen, or if I'm going to be a little bit more blunt, like if I'm this fucked up? And and I would say that that's one of the powers that I've had, is that I've had people come to me for 20 plus years now. No one shocks me. I can really meet someone in their pain. I know what this feels like. It's not like, oh, I study this or train this. It's like, no, I've walked this path. I know what addictions are like. I know what despair, I know what suicide is like. I know what loss is like. I know what grief is like. I know what it's like to lose yourself. I know what it's like to give your power away. And I know the other side, like I'm able to articulate it so well because I've really gotten to know the paths and the patterns. So, it is interesting of sadness gets to be just a tone, just like happiness. And, as an American, although I'm not really sure if I'm a total American because I left my country a long time ago. But you can't totally take your culture outside of you. And I appreciate my Americanness. I do appreciate it. And yet, what I've seen from the outside with my culture is that we tend to be like, oh, like the whole marketing of spirituality is like, you're going to be young, sexy, and happy. And then that's all ephemeral, like I remember, to me, when I first started meditating, it was all about like, how do we meet these parts of ourselves that are continually dying? I mean, that sounds so sobering. It's not very sexy messaging. But how do we meet the ephemeral nature of what is? And in some ways, not take anything too seriously and yet be so sincere in our connection with life. So anyway, these are just my musings for you. It's super early in the morning. The sun has not risen yet. It will rise and make me warm. And I hope you're warm and cozy wherever you are. But I am curious, like, what is your relationship with sadness? Again, I was so intrigued where I was like feeling defensive, where I do feel, just in terms of all the people I work with, that we don't make place for it. Like there's something wrong with us if we feel sad, and it's just a feeling and it's allowed to be there. There's something wrong with us if we feel angry. I get, messages in the morning from friends and clients where they're like, oh, I hate how I'm feeling, and it's a natural compulsion where we try to change or analyze or fix. And there's such an art in, I'm going to let myself be with this. And I'm not going to think that there's something wrong or bad. Like to me, there's an allowance of a tenderness, which is a sensitivity, a kindness, a compassion. There's an allowance of a tenderness when you allow yourself to be sad, like with what's been going on over the past couple of years. Like, yeah, there's a lot of deeper edges of feelings that are coming up, and can we be courageous to be with them? Now, I will say too, I know I'm doing a little bit of a PS and I'm keep on going. You thought I was going to end, but I'm not done yet. But when I first started really allowing myself to feel these textures, namely like anger and sadness, because those are ones that were harder for me to allow. I like to have the metaphor, by the way, of like almost like you're making space in your internal home. Like instead of trying to kick out the sadness or the anger, it's like, yeah, no, I'll let you chill in the guest room. Like you get to have a space here. You're not going to like take over the house, but I'm going to allow you to be here so you can feel comfortable and rest and transform. And what I found though was that when I started to allow myself to feel whatever was here, that suddenly expanded my capacity. It strengthened my energy field, also strengthened my ability to have boundaries. It helped me allow the totality of the whole experience. And it also gave me a greater capacity for feeling, like if we limit our feeling, we're not going to feel so much. We can't really like be like, well, I'll feel this and not that. It's like suddenly the whole current, the whole flow could expand. So suddenly there was a lot more life force, a lot more power, and there was also a lot more capacity for joy. And what's been so interesting to me is that I'm not necessarily like happy all the time. I tend to have lots of different emotions moving through me, but there's a deeper resilience and strength that I have, and my immune system is a lot better. And, when you think about the heart, the thymus and the heart chakra, like your immune system and your heart emotions, like they're all connected. And that's been probably one of the biggest game changers for me over the past few years, is like my capacity to handle things when they fall apart, my ability, like the strength in my system while I'm still tender, immune system, and the ability to kind of bounce and flow, so there's not so much stuckness. Anyway, remember that we're all artists, no matter how you are. We're all playing the music of our life, and you don't want to get stuck in any one rhythm, any one color, any one little chord. Like, we really want to be able to expand and play. So those are my magic morning notes to you. Take what resonates, throw out the rest, and most importantly, have a beautiful day. Bye.